Hey, just give me 1 minute here. I'm just fixing something else here. Another issue I'm noticing with OBS. You'll have to bear with me because these issues, um, I'm still trying to get a hang of um, the issues involved in this. So, trying to iron out these little bugs so that future streams I won't have this issue going forward. Um, okay, so if I delete this scene now, what happens? That scene's okay. The other ones don't appear. I don't know why. Long bottom was working a while ago, and now it's not. Go figure. So it's very odd. See, that works. Now I go to long bottom and I have his scene set to default. Let's just set it to default first, and then I'll go and pick the scene. And then long bottom is the one. Window, same type maybe? No. Window match, priority match title, otherwise window title must match. What if I do this? Window title must match. Window same as repeatable. Match. Why isn't this working? OBS is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of finicky. Might have to switch to some different streaming software in the future if this doesn't work the way I want it to. Foreground window with hotkey? No. Full screen application? Any full screen application specific window. So if I do that, it doesn't work. If I do that, it works. If I do that, it doesn't work. So I don't know why it isn't seeing the other clients now, but it's not. That's okay though. I'll just I'll figure this out some other time. Anyway, I'll just proceed with Neville. So basically, you're gonna see Neville's view, and you're gonna see me walk up on the screen with my other character, instead of me switching to that character. So, hello.
Hello.
So anyway, I'm gonna go up to that meal that we were just looking at in part one of the stream, which is now saved as a video because I had to restart the OBS. And we have made this beef meal that is, let me go back on Neville for a moment so we can show you the beef meal again. So the beef meal is this one right here that we made a while ago in the first video. And then, yeah, and then, why am I seeing, oh, I see why. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so I'm on my love, which is my main priest right now because it has the highest channeling skill. Um, and she is going to eat this meal and see what affinity she gets. So Neville got fishing from that meal. Longbottom got, um, what did Longbottom get? Oh yeah, stealing affinity. And then, my love is gonna get something different. So my love just got cloth tailoring. That's actually not bad. So that means, if I want to make her a tailor, she could become a tailor and have tailoring affinity with this particular beef meal, which is interesting. So now what we've done is we've created a meal of enormous complexity, 130 difficulty meal, but we can add and remove ingredients. So it would actually be interesting to cook each meal with one ingredient less. Actually, there's probably a whole bunch of different combinations now. Now that I think about it, there's more than that. There's within that set of ingredients that I created earlier, based on my characters, like the number of combinations rather that you can have with all of those herbs and everything. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a vast enough amount of combinations you can make with those particular ingredients as is that would yield a whole number of affinities. So I guess this must be what people refer to as discovering your own affinities without the help of any calculators or without any test meals or anything like that. Basically, you make a meal with a whole ton of ingredients in it, and you can add and remove ingredients to try and find out what different affinities you get. And then once you find an affinity that you want, uh, you save that list of ingredients for that character and say, hey, this meal with this specific set of ingredients cooked in a rare frying pan gave me in a non-rare forge or non-rare oven gave me affinity X, Y, Z, whatever that happens to be. Um, so yeah, so now it gives me 2 hours of affinity, 2 hours and 20 minutes of affinity per bite, right? So now I'm just like I have about half a bar of food on my love. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna eat more of this meal and see how quickly this goes up. So I'm gonna eat half a bar's worth of food and see how much affinity timer I get. So I ate about half a bar worth of food and it gave me 5 hours and 24 minutes of affinity, which is not bad for a 55 quality meal. Um, you know, wow, that's not bad. So, that's decent. That's a decent little grinding session, 5 hours straight of grinding. You know what I mean? Um, Not bad. Mind you, you'd be running through some more weight of these meals, but nonetheless, that's not bad. So, wonder if this tune actually already has skill in tailoring. I don't think so, but you never know. Oh, actually it does. 22 cloth tailoring. So I guess it was aiming to be a tailor at some point. Um, Long bottom got disconnected. Um, okay, so I'm gonna quit out of my love now. And there she goes. And I'm gonna come back in with long bottom. So this is very interesting. So let me go back to my list of ingredients for a moment. It was captured as a screenshot. So I'm going to open my screenshot folder. And it was captured as a screenshot on long bottom, I believe. Yeah. Oh, few details. Here we go. Can I preview this? I miss the old preview button that Windows used to have. Instead we got edit with photos and paint. Why can't I just preview the darn thing? I guess I just click open. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so yeah, 130 difficulty. Okay, so when I open, um, the screenshot. Maybe I can add another scene so you could see it under under here. Photos, photos, and I'm gonna add another source here and say it's a window capture. No, that's not it. What is it? An application, browser, color source, display capture? No. Not a game capture. Image? No. Maybe a new image. Image file. Ah, yes. Okay, that works. Okay, so this image is there. So I'm gonna go here to users, worm, my player, and the screenshots, and view this by detail. And voila. Aha. Okay. So now you can see the image. So in this was the list of ingredients that we had spoken about. The 130 difficulty meal um, that I cooked earlier. This is a screenshot from before I started the stream, so it's not from the stream itself, but nonetheless, the same ingredients are shown there that I had put in the frying pan before I emptied up to 91 quality. So so we have, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So there's 20 ingredients there that all work to make a meal, and you can add and remove, and it'll still be a valid meal. It doesn't matter which one you add and remove, it'll still be a valid meal if you lure it. Just lure it to double check, but that lets you, like I said, tweak the difficulty between, like, what was it, like 55 and 130. And again, whenever you change a recipe, it changes the affinity that you get. So actually, if I wanted to explore this further, this is like what, 20 by 20 combinations or something stupid like that of possible affinities, something like that. So just for simplicity's sake, if I remove one ingredient at a time and cook each meal, well, let's just make it okay. Let's say you cook the meal with one meat, one crop, one nut, one herb, one spice, one cheese, and the salt. And then you keep changing it, swapping out the crop for a different crop, swap out the herb for a different herb. So, you know what I mean? Like, there's an unlimited number of combinations based on just these ingredients alone that you should be able to make a whole variety of meals using these ingredients and come up with some interesting affinities that work with your character. And that's without using a calculator. That's just kind of adding a little mystery into the worm cooking system, a little fun and mystery into it. You can use any of these ingredients, a combination thereof, to find affinities for your characters that um, that are good for you, that you would like to keep. So all you really need to do is taste the meal, like make each meal with whatever ingredients you want, taste each meal on each of your characters until you find one meal that one of your characters likes, and then you take that meal, label it, and keep it in a safe place. And then just take one bite, and you get 2 hours of affinity per bite from that meal, or maybe more. I don't know. Like if you add and remove ingredients of different quality, you might get different quality uh, meal and maybe even different length of timers. I'm not sure. Like I said, I didn't research any of that stuff. I just kind of winged it and ended up with a 2 hour affinity on the meal I cooked per bite. So, or at least for the first bite, anyway. Uh, to get more affinity, you had to eat more of the meal. So like I ate half a bar's worth of food and I got like 5 hours of affinity, for instance, which isn't that bad. I mean, again, once you have the recipe, you cook it indefinitely, whatever you want, right? So, um, yeah, the reason I had these 100 quality chopped veggies lying around is basically for favor for my priest. So, 100 quality, I could stack like 14 of these on long bottom, and he gets a full bar of faith or favor rather. And then if I stack like 16 of these on an empty bar on my love, she'll get a full bar. But they have to be 100 quality chopped veggies. So that's why I got them. It's for casting. It's reserved for favor for my priests. Um, but I can also use, it's not going to hurt to use a little bit of my supply for some meals. So I ended up just using those for my meals because that's what I had on hand, right? You use whatever you have on hand. And again, different quality of different ingredients will affect probably the quality of the overall quality of the meal and, the quality of your frying pan and what you're using. So, but again, I've come up with basically a basic set of ingredients that will work in a frying pan that are fairly simple, regular crops that gives you an idea of what you can use as a starting base to discover, first of all, to give yourself full CCFB, and also, second of all, to discover some affinities for your character without, you know, doing it the traditional way, which is doing a test meal and buying a meal off somebody, which is a quick and easy way to get the affinity you desire right away. Or figuring out the complexities of the cooking and affinity systems for yourself so you can cook specific affinity meals using the calculator for yourself. Or you dumb it down and you do what I've done, which is basically just come up with a list of ingredients that all work in a meal, whether you add or subtract them, the meal is still valid, and then just discover as you go. And that's sort of again, my original goal wasn't to do that. It was to come up with a meal that's of 70 difficulty with the ingredients I had on hand that has some variety that'll do two things: fill my CCFB bar and allow me to level up my soul depth on my character by cooking meals. So I've yet to test the soul depth part of it. If I create lots of these meals at 70 difficulty, is it going to really level my soul depth up quickly? That's yet to be determined. That's what I heard, but I'm going to have to verify that for myself. Um, but I know it gives me CCFB. I know that just by chance I ended up coming upon a couple of interesting affinities, fishing for Neville and cloth tailoring for my love. Again, I didn't pick out those affinities. I just got them randomly from this meal. So, um, if I add and subtract ingredients, I'll find other affinities, and then I might find, hey, this gives blacksmithing or jewelry smithing or whatever. I'm gonna keep that ingredient list because now I know if I create this same meal for that character again, it's gonna give me the same affinity, and that's without, like I said, having to understand the cooking system, without having to understand all the complexities of the affinity system, without having to buy an affinity meal from somebody. So, a different way of looking at and approaching the cooking system and injecting a little bit of fun and mystery at the same time. Um, and mimicking at the same time real world ingredients so you can go grocery store and grab these ingredients and make yourself a stew in a crock pot and it would taste just as good. It's basically real life ingredients that you would use in a real stew. So, mind you, you wouldn't put all of these in there. You would probably put maybe a little bit of garlic, some peas, some onions, maybe a little bit of tomato, maybe carrot, potato, um, parsley, rosemary, paprika, some salt, and then that would be that. That would be like a simple kind of stew. Um, or you might add a stew that has those seasoning mixes, and the seasoning mixes include the basil and oregano and all that stuff already. So technically, you're adding that to your real life stew. You wouldn't be adding fennel or cumin or ginger unless you were targeting a specific flavor, like Asian flavor or something like that. So you'd be substituting paprika for cumin or ginger or something to get that different flavor into your stew in real life. And you'd be substituting thyme or using thyme as a substitute for rosemary or vice versa in a real meal. But basically, all of these ingredients are usable in a real stew, and at the same time are usable in the game to make different difficulty meals. From 55 difficulty, I think, up to 130 is what this covered. And I think that also something else influences that, and I think that is when you chop and dice and ground things, it changes the difficulty of the meal, I believe. I didn't test this, but if you were to just add these ingredients whole without chopping them, and add meat in whole without dicing it, and add in the spices without grounding them, or turning them into seed in the case of fennel seed, um, and if you didn't add cheese and nuts, or maybe you did, uh, maybe you could get that difficulty level below 55, maybe. But in for all of these ingredients in their current state, when I simplified the meal down to a few ingredients, it was like one veg, one beef, and the beef, the veg, and the salt came out to 55 difficulty, I think it was on the video, on the last video. So um, the difficulty of the meal was still fairly high, because again, it should be 20 less your skill. Uh, so 55 is when you're like 75 hot food cooking, and 70 difficulty is when you're 90 hot food cooking. 100 would be 80, but of course, when you reach 100, you're not gonna need skill gains anymore. I guess once you hit the max, so um, it wouldn't matter. I guess increasing quality wouldn't matter anymore at that point because you're not trying to get skill points anymore past 100 hot food cooking. I don't know if anybody's actually achieved 100 hot food cooking in the game. I suspect they probably have, considering it's already known how to panfill past 90, panfill a character past 90, and probably get it to 100. So, um, yeah, that pretty much sums that up. That kind of sums up what I wanted to achieve in today's stream, was come up with a way to uh, make my own meal that I can add and subtract from for difficulty purposes, that I could use to perhaps grind soul depth, and I'll have to let you know how that turned out once I do some more tests. Like, I'll have to create a bunch of these meals at 70 difficulty and see if my soul depth is going up. And finally, injecting a little bit of fun in terms of discovering affinities as opposed to, just getting what you want right away kind of thing, and or having to learn about the complexity of the whole system to do it. Um, and yeah, and I gave you guys a tour of my deed, um, which is good. And you found out that I'm Master Blacksmith and Master Platesmith, and that my deed's connected to the highway system, and I gave you a little overview of certain things that I was going to that I was thinking of doing in terms of plans for my deed. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what I'm gonna talk about on the next stream, but it'll probably pop into my head um, just out of the blue, kind of like it did today. Like everything, I didn't prepare for any of this. It just kind of turned out this way. So I hope you all enjoyed it. It was a very long stream, but hey, that's what it's like when you're in Worm, right? You spend a long time doing stuff and, you know, um, spending time researching things and whatnot. It wouldn't be Worm if it wasn't a long session, right? And that's why, we can go forward and backwards in videos. We don't have to watch necessarily the whole thing. You can if you want to, um, or you can just even like be playing and listening to the video in the background, kind of like listening to somebody on the radio. And when you hear an interesting part of the video and you want to watch it, you flip back to the video. I've done that with other people's streams sometimes as well. Like if you don't want to sit there and you know and you want to be like you don't want to be watching the whole thing, but you still want to hear what they have to say and pop in when you need to, and at the same time not lose any time in game and still be productive. So um, you know, could always do that as well. Like I said, if you enjoyed the stream, just hit follow, leave a comment, subscribe, whatever it is. I don't know what I haven't figured all this Twitch stuff yet, but um, you know, definitely keep an eye on my stream, and I'll stream whenever I can. Whenever I'm playing, if I feel there's something interesting enough that I'm doing, I guess I'll include everybody in on it. I guess you never know when something interesting could pop up, right? I mean, you could be just doing your regular thing, and then all of a sudden, hey, this happened, and this made me think of this, and then one thought leads to the next, rather, and then it ends up turning into its own sort of conversation, right? Conversation piece. So again, because I haven't really followed chat for the video, I'm kind of sort of expecting that people will want to chat about the stream in the comments or something like that, maybe for this time around. Um, or leave comments or something, and suggestions, and maybe answer some of the questions I was thinking about. You know, um, Stuff like that. So I think what I'll do is I'll wrap this up, and then I'll see you guys back on the next stream. I guess I'll probably figure out getting a YouTube account set up so that these videos can be housed permanently as opposed to temporarily, because I think the videos only get saved on Twitch for a limited period of time. So um, I'm gonna make sure that I can get these videos over to YouTube. Now I don't know if they have any length restrictions. I have no idea if this video is considered too long for YouTube, or if they'll just take the whole thing, ingest the whole video. I guess I'm gonna find out the hard way, uh, whether or not I can just import this into YouTube and have it work. Um, being the length that it is and everything. Um, I'm probably not gonna do too much. I'm not gonna do the editing and fancy intros and all that kind of stuff. I mean, just you're not really coming to see that anyway. You're coming to see me or playing the game and talking about the game. So, I mean, like, okay, maybe if I had a huge following and people are expecting that sort of thing, then maybe I might do it or get somebody to do it for me, whatever. Um, but that's doubtful. I don't think my stream would get popular enough for that. Uh, but you never know, I guess. As time will tell. I mean, it is Worm Online. I don't know how many people are interested in this, but I'm hoping that my videos kind of inspire some desire by other people to give the game a try. Now, I'm gonna warn you, it's not for the weak. It's not for the faint of heart, I guess you could say. You're gonna spend months with a new character getting skills up. And it's gonna take time before you feel useful in the game and somewhat self-sufficient. That said, however, there's enough knowledge now uh, dished out by players and streamers, tips, useful tips, I guess you could say, that if you're looking for them, you'll find them. And if you're asking questions, you'll probably get answers to those questions, um, in game. So don't be discouraged by, how long it takes to get things done. That's part of the game. That's part of the reason why it's so good is because you don't get instant satisfaction from reaching, end game right away. Like some games, like it's like you power through the game, you get the best gear, you raid at every raid, you beat every boss, and then what? Then you're sitting there and you're bored and you lose interest in the game, and then you quit the game and you move on to the next one. And then eventually, after you've been through a few of them, you realize it's just the same old rinse and repeat with a little bit of different variety thrown in here and there. But at the end of the day, the goal is the same, to beat the end game. Well, there is not really, well, there is, but there isn't an end game in Worm. Even the end game is not the end game, meaning you're still a player with the capability to do more and to do anything you want. You get your skills up. It would take such a long time to level every skill in the game to 100. That's the thing. And everybody has a different idea of what fun in the game is to them. So you might not find that at the beginning when you're first starting out, but eventually you're going to figure out what it is in the game that you like to do. You're going to find out what you want to do, the goals you want to achieve. You're gonna find out what stands in your way of achieving those goals and what you need to do to overcome the challenges in order to get to your goal. And you're gonna end up skilling up whatever certain skills you're gonna end up skilling up to achieve your goal. And through all of that, you're gonna discover what it is you actually like to do in the game. Um, and Yeah, and you're gonna want to keep doing those things, and it's gonna become, a fun thing to do. Like for me, it's smithing, smithing tools and stuff like that, and armor, like I love to do that, and I love smithing in general so much to the point where I'm actually branching out now. I'm gonna do jewelry smithing, I'm gonna do shield smithing, I'm gonna do weapon smithing. So I have goals, right? And then past that, I have other goals. Well, I have my priest, and I have goals to do farming on that, and taming on that, and alchemy on that. And then I have other goals, which is like building up my deed and getting my higher carpentry skill and masonry skill. All of those things take a fair bit of time to accomplish. So I've got years of playtime left in this game, no problem. Especially if I don't go nuts skill grinding everything just to reach max as fast as possible, which is defeats the whole purpose of enjoying this game in the first place. And the people that have done that, I warn you, like I said before, the people that have done that have quit and moved on because they burnt themselves out in this game. And then they make a rash decision by selling their account or giving their account away to somebody else. And then they realize later on that even if they wanted to come back, they'd have to start from scratch all over again. And then they don't want to do that. So they end up not coming back at all. But in the back of their mind, they're probably thinking, I wish I could have come back. But I couldn't because I made a rash decision to get rid of my account or let somebody take over my account and it's no longer mine and I have to start from scratch again. So I would say that if you did end up quitting the game, don't think that you may quit forever. Don't sell your character. You know, um, don't think that just because you're over the game today or for a few months or a year or whatever the time may be, that you won't want to come back someday and pick it up again and play again. So, it'd be in your best interest probably not to sell your account and not lose that ability because then you have to start from scratch or you have to buy somebody else's account, which can get expensive. So, I mean, why go through all of that, right? Um, but you can avoid all of that in the first place by not, you know, treating this game like it's a race to the end, like every other game. And it'll be a lot more enjoyable for you over the long term if you approach the game that way. And have goals. Uh, See what you want to do to achieve them, and you know. And in terms of community, if you decide you want to start an alliance or something, keep in mind that um, being far away from your deed mates has an effect on how successful your community is going to be. So if you're going to create an alliance, a community alliance with your friends, you might want to all pick a piece of land and build close to each other and connect each other's deeds together and help each other out and do things together, have events together and stuff like that. Don't be like halfway across the server from each other in an alliance with each your own separate deeds, and then there's basically very slim chance that you two are going to get together very often and do things together because everybody in your alliance is all spread out and it takes a while to get to them by boat or by horse ride or whatever. The alliances that seem to work best in Worm Online are the ones that have close-knit communities that are all built close to one another, and it's like multiple deeds connected together close to each other become essentially a huge deed. It looks like one big deed, but it really isn't. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind if you're thinking about creating an alliance or joining an alliance. It's not just all about having a chat tab that says alliance in it so you can talk to your buddies. I mean, you could do that over a voice server or something. You got to think about how is it going to make and enhance my gameplay by being in an alliance, and how are my friends going to benefit from that and all of that kind of thing. So just keep that in mind. I did create an alliance before, and I didn't know that at the time, and I think had my approach to an alliance been different, probably would have lasted longer. Mind you, it did last quite a long time, but the reason my alliance died is essentially because everybody eventually became disinterested in the game. They were each on their own deeds, and they each on their own property, and none of us were close to each other per se. I mean, close but not close. And so we weren't like running to each other as neighbors and saying, "Hey, let's go do this together," or or hey, I need some materials. Can I come over to your place for a few minutes and get them and whatever stuff like that, right? Um, so everybody kind of like they grinded themselves out of the game essentially, and they all got bored and left. And I'm one of the few that stuck around. And you know, again, I think sense of community is important in games, and this game doesn't impose a specific type of community upon you. It's whatever you make of it. So you have to think about it and think of how it's going to be beneficial to you. This game doesn't lock you into anything. You could do anything you want, whatever way you want. Um, but from a community perspective, I could tell you that the ones that worked out best were the ones that were close together and close knit. And now that there's the highway system and other things in the game, I mean, it makes it even better than before. Because now you can link each other's deeds on the highway system, and there's all kinds of extra things you can do now, so that you couldn't do before. Lots of new features always being added to the game, and the devs are pretty good and been keeping up with all of that, and um, making the game more attractive to new players and stuff. But again, it's a different type of game. It requires some dedication, but you get huge rewards out of it for accomplishing, what you want to accomplish. You actually, because of the amount of time you invest in it and the work that you put into it, you get the reward is achieving your goals, and all of that is just it's unsurpassed by most games. Um, you don't get that sense of reward and payback that you do with this game. At least not in my opinion, anyway. Like I've raided and ran guilds and done all of that in WoW and Star Wars and Rift and all those other games, and they all got really boring for me. And at the end of the day, I ended up sticking with Worm for what? It's been over 3 years now, and I'm not even close to tired of it. And I'll probably be with this game for many, many more years. It's the only game that I play religiously now. I don't even play other games very. If I do, it's not for very long. Um, Certainly not with the level of dedication that I've given to this. This game I've given my highest level of dedication to over any other game, for the simple reason that it's fulfilling in a way that any other game isn't. So, yeah, that said, there is a real life out there, and you still have to live your real life. So don't get caught up in the virtual world for too long. But you get my point. Uh, and you'll only understand that you won't understand this right away. If you pick up the game today, you won't understand. You'll be like, "What the hell?" And then, like 6 months down the road, or whatever months down the road, or weeks down the road, everybody has a different pace, a different um, view on things, and they feel differently at different times about the game. But at some point, either how many days, weeks, months, whatever down the road, you'll be like, I get it now. Now I understand. And then you'll like appreciate the game after that, and you'll want to stick with it for a long time. Um, there's so much to learn in the game too, which is another cool thing. Not everything is handed to you on a silver platter. You have to kind of like figure it out, and that's part of the fun of the game too. There's not a guide for everything. There's not a single way of doing everything. That some things can be done in different ways. Um, the process of terraforming and creating your own deed is completely different than somebody else's experience, because they're not working on the same terrain, they're not working with the same materials, they don't have the same skills as you, so on and so forth. So every character's experience in the game is unique in that sense. So you are your own person in the game as well. So your character is its own person, and it's not the same as every other character in the game, which is cool. So You're not, a warlock and, oh, he's a warlock too. Oh, we have the same spells. Oh, we need the same gear. Oh, we basically need to be the same. And then you go to endgame. We are the same and we're boring. There's none of that in Worm. So, and no, no specific class or thing you need to be. You could do whatever you want. You could be a mix of whatever you want. Uh, be a crafter for whatever you want, whatever floats your boat, you know? So, anyway, I will leave it at that, and I will end this video by going back to scene one and heading back up for that view of the deed from the top of the tower. Just to end the stream, I think it'll be a nice touch just to go up to the top. Too bad it wasn't nighttime actually in the game right now because you'd see all the dyed lights that I have built. But go to the top of my tower here that I built, and this castle, if you're wondering just how many bricks and mortar, you're probably talking. It's probably going to be around the neighborhood of 4,000 to 6,000, something like that, bricks and mortar, if not more. Who knows? And then I'll have these braziers and at the top, which you can usually see through the fog from a long distance away. And it depends on the quality of the brazier. Like these are 65. I can actually up these to a higher skill now, or higher quality, because I'm a higher skill mason now. So I'll be able to bump the quality of those up a bit. But there's my view. There's my ships down there, and there's a view of my deed, and the mountain in the back, and you'll get to see more. I'll show you the hunting area one day when I go hunting, and I don't want to do everything in one stream, right? Uh, so, anyways, there is the view, wonderful view of Applebrooke Ridge on the ridge of the mountain here that I call Tundra Mountain. So there's the lake view. Where's the sun right now? The sun's up there. So anyway, there you go. There's the view. A work in progress, but there it is. Alright, so thanks for watching the stream. I know it was a long one, but hey, I'm hoping you had as much fun as I did. And it was kind of cool, actually. I had some unexpected little pleasant results there, so um, actually kind of happy I did this now in the end. So I bid you adieu, I guess you could say.